All right, guys. Welcome to episode 4, DVC for Adults. I thought it would be fun today. You've heard me talk about where you should buy, why I bought. I've stayed, especially once this year is over, I will have stayed at all of the DVC resorts that are currently open. And I wanted to rank them. Now, I can't rank Riviera or Grand Californian yet. I'm actually staying at Grand Californian here in a couple of weeks. It is currently January 27, 2026. So I can't imagine it not being close to the top from what I've heard of it. And I also haven't stayed at Riviera, which I'm going to share my screen with you and show you one of the cool things about DVC is how many different ways you can use it. All right, you're looking at my upcoming vacations. We're going to be at Grand Californian in February. Look at these next two. I alluded to this a little bit last week or last show, I should say. It's definitely been more than a week. We're staying at Vero Beach. We love Vero Beach. It's only a couple hours from Disney World. In our case, it's about a 2.5, 3 hour drive down to Miami to get on a cruise ship. It's even closer to Port Canaveral if you leave from there. So as you can see, we are staying 2 nights before our cruise and one night after our cruise. So we've booked that. Then we use this for our family. And I've got 3 kids. They all have families. 2 of them have already made use of our points. The third is going to make use of them a little bit later, and we're going to go to Kidani Village. They're going to go to Kidani Village. That's where the animals are. You can see the animals from your balcony. And then look at this. I told you again, I think this was either the last episode or the one before, that when my wife goes out of town on one of her club camping or kayaking trips, I think they're actually going to Montana this year. Well, I take that as an excuse to book a few nights at Disney. I don't go to a theme park. I just kind of hang out. I might take a tour, behind the scenes tour, something to that end. But you can see that I'm staying 2 nights at Kidani. That's our favorite. Then I get to go 2 nights at Riviera, which I haven't stayed at before. And then a night at Bay Lake Tower. And to be honest, the only reason I'm going to Bay Lake Tower is I wanted to choose another one of the monorail resorts. It cuts you down to Bay Lake Tower, Polynesian, or Grand Floridian. And Bay Lake Tower is a little bit closer. And if I do a tour, it's going to be from that general area. But look at all these. For this year, I've got 7 different vacations planned, I should say 7 different resorts planned, and that's the versatility of DVC. So I'm not going to tell you if I did this, but something you can do. If I wanted to do all this, I could have bank points from last year to do it. I could have borrowed points from next year to do it. I know I borrowed some, but that's the versatility of it. What I want to do now, I'm going to rank the 11 DVC resorts that I've stayed in. I'm going to stay in Riviera in California soon, so that'll be 12 and 13. I expect them to be close to the top. And I'm going to rank them in order. And some of these are going to make people mad because I'm not going to say some favorable things about their DVC home resort, but I hope I say it in such a way that what I say I didn't like, you may actually like. That might be your thing. And so that would be where you bought. So number 11, I'm going to say Old Key West. It's the first one we ever stayed in. All these resorts are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. You will be pleased with Old Key West. It was the first DVC resort ever created back in what would that have been, the 80s? And it actually included free tickets back then. But the thing about Old Key West, the good thing is the size of the rooms. My goodness, they're the biggest rooms anywhere. So if you're into that kind of thing, you definitely want to go to Old Key West. Old Key West is not considered to be, quote, in the center of things, or it might be in the center. It's just not close to the activity anywhere. So that's why I would put Old Key West at number 11. Number 10, and I actually love this place, but somebody's got to be 10. Saratoga Springs. I stayed there a couple of years ago. It's interesting. You can almost always find a room at Saratoga Springs, even at about, oh, I don't know, 3 months out. What had happened the time I stayed there is I had already booked a room at Kidani Village. And by the way, that one thing I meant to do that I didn't, that's what Disney's opening page for Old Key West looks like. And there's a lot of pictures. If you just type in Old Key West, you'll get there too. I will quickly type in Saratoga so we can see some pictures there. Saratoga is right next to Disney Springs, which is where all the restaurants and activities, it's like downtown Disney, if you're more familiar with that concept. There's a picture of Saratoga Springs, beautiful. I love, they got one of the best walking paths of anybody. Saratoga Springs is, I stayed in the Congress Park section, which is, I could walk over to Disney Springs, get some dinner, and be back in 15 minutes. I think I alluded to that previously too. So that's a beautiful resort. There's actually more people here recently buying at Saratoga Springs because the rates are reasonable and the monthly dues are some of the lowest out there because it's one of the newer resorts. So Saratoga Springs, I would put it at number 10. I believe I'm saying this, but one of our favorites has always been the boardwalk, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in at number 9, the boardwalk. The boardwalk is nice in that, especially in the evening, you can walk out and do boardwalk type things, games, there's entertainers, you can ride a Surrey bike, all that kind of stuff. And that's what you can do at the boardwalk. And we're going to just pull up. I've scrolled down too far. I couldn't find my search bar. Let's pull up the boardwalk and we'll look at some pictures there. All these resorts look so uh, different from each other. So you got all different flavors to choose from. Look at that picture. That's boardwalk lit up at night. This walkway goes all the way around the circle. If you could see over here, you'd see Beach Club, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Right here used to be ESPN. It is now what's called Cake Bake. It's a very expensive cake, but it's really good. I have to say, I've actually eaten there once. So we'll call that the number. I would rank that number 9 if you like to walk around. And behind this picture, if we were looking straight ahead, behind us right now is one of the entrances to the Skyliner, the one that's in the back of Epcot. And yes, you can walk to Epcot, and for that matter, you could walk from the studio to the studios from this location, as you can. The next one, number 8, is the Beach Club. Let's pull up a couple of Beach Club pictures and see what pictures Disney shows us for that Beach Club. The two favorite things I have at Beach Club are the Stormalong Bay, which is basically a mini water park, and also there's a ice cream place there called Beaches and Cream that features a thing called the kitchen sink, which is right in here somewhere, which is a huge bowl of ice cream, big enough to hold like 10 scoops and lots of toppings. You can see the walkway that comes around by the Beach Club. If you look over to the right, you're almost to Epcot when you get over there. It's big, sprawling hotel, a lot of regular hotel rooms and a few DVC. Beach Club sometimes is hard to find a room in because it wasn't intentionally built for DVC. And so there's a lot of hotel people there. So that's Beach Club. Now, this is the one that's probably going to upset some people because there's people that bought into Grand Floridian. And I stayed there 2 years ago and I was so excited about it. I finally got to stay in Grand Floridian. It is the premier show place at Disney World. That's it from across the lake. I stayed in a building behind this one, and I might have hit him on a bad day. It seemed like let me give you an example. My son and his family They wanted to do what people call monorail crawl, where you just go around. They weren't staying at any of these resorts, but they rode the monorail around in a circle, stopped at each resort and visited. And at the time, they were staying in one of the, I don't want to call it lesser, but they were staying in a room at one of the cheaper Disney resorts there on property. And they said when they were at their hotel, everybody's wearing their shoes. The kids are bouncing up and down. They enjoy being at Disney World. When you go here, it's a totally different vibe. Very stand up straight. Uh, it's a different type of clientele. These people have spent a lot more on their points, a lot more on their rooms, a lot more on their food. They are on the monorail. I ran into a cast member that apparently was having a bad day. I ran into, I guess it was an executive that was on a golf cart. He was stopped. I just asked him if he knew where the Coca-Cola fill station is. And he looked at me like, I cannot believe you're asking somebody like me that question. But he did yell at somebody and got them to come over and give me an answer. I would rank Grand Floridian, number seven. I was thinking about going back there this year, but I chose Bay Lake Tower instead, probably because it's the closest one with a walking path to the Magic Kingdom. Number six, this is in our recent vacations, we definitely go here once a year because it's on the way to other things. This is Vero Beach. This is so nice. I worry that when the contract runs out in 2042, I'm not sure what uh, what they're going to do with Vero Beach. But this is Vero Beach, the Vero Beach Resort. It is, you would fly into most of the time the Melbourne airport and then drive over. This is the part that faces the beach. Some of the rooms up here you can get, those are actually rooms, not villas. The villas are really nice. They'll be over to the left. There's also cottages that are considered their 3 bedroom units, and you can stay there. So that's really nice. So that's Vero. And then we have points at a place called, let's go back to that. We're going to search for Hilton Head. The unique thing about Hilton Head, if you've ever been there, we had visited there many times before we ever stayed there, Disney wise, and that's a good overhead shot there. You have a walkway. That's actually where the roadway that goes over to the resort. You can see it's back in a lagoon. There's a lot of boats right here. While there is only a quick serve in this whole place, if you cross over here, it takes you about 10 minutes to get over to essentially what's a walking mall that has candy and lots of nice restaurants, Mexican restaurant we always eat at. That's a really nice place. And like you saw on my previous screen, I was we're going 2 days before and 1 day after our cruise. So we love Vero Beach, or Hilton, I should say, and we'll rank it at number five. I'm going to pull up Bay Lake Tower now. Bay Lake Tower is a building that's right next to the Contemporary Resort. In fact, you'll use the Contemporary Resort food establishments. Let's go Bay Lake. See what they're going to show us here. Bay Lake Tower. All right, so it is a building that looks like this. That headway right there is the pedway over to the Contemporary. Right behind it is a monorail track. Right behind that, if you get a theme park view on the other side of this building, that's what you'll be watching. You can see the castle right there. That's always the shortest walking path of any resort to the Magic Kingdom. If you like to, I mean, it's pretty cool when you can just leave the Magic Kingdom and be back over at your resort in about 10 minutes. So that's why we're going there instead of Grand Floridian, or even one that I haven't mentioned yet that I'm pulling up here soon. But that is the Bay Lake Tower. Now, you can see my background behind me. That is in Hawaii. That is Alani. That our we have friends who have bought points there. We would go to Alani a lot more. It's in the Honolulu area, and we would go there a lot more if we just didn't want to fly out there so far. Flying really at our really drains us these days. So we would go there much more often if that wasn't the case. So let's look at it real quick. We'll type in Aulani, Aulani is how you spell it. So let's pull up Aulani, and I apparently have misspelled it or something. We'll pull up some pictures and see what we got here. There it is right there. So let's pull up those and we will see that. Funny how they choose different types of pictures for different reasons. But anyway, that's the building in the background behind Mickey. These are the rooms right here. Really great place. Obviously, it's in Hawaii. So you've got there's the beach. You'll see that the chairs overlooking the beach. I would rank that as number three. Number two, I would have never said this about the Polynesian because I always thought its main building was so crowded. And then they opened up that tower last year, and I stayed there. Man, it's called the Polynesian Island Tower, and we stayed there and really liked it. It looks like I'm all the way over on the Lonnie website. So let's go back to this. I want you to at least see some pictures of let's do the Polynesian Tower. Now, there are some people that to this day will tell me they'd rather stay in the longhouses instead of going to the tower. I love the tower, but give you an idea, here's what some of the pictures will look like. And we will go from there. That's the Polynesian right there. They have bungalows, which is their 3 bedroom, obviously a lot more expensive, but that's cool thing about the Polynesian, it opened the day Disney World opened. So it's been open since 1971. And they built that new tower, which I fell in love with last year. Wish I had points there. But I got into it. I got into a theme park view. Now, I will say this about the theme park view from Polynesian. It's actually the first stop from the transportation and ticket center out by the big parking lot. So even a theme park view is not as theme parky. You can see Cinderella's castle, but it is way out in the horizon. Now the fireworks still look good, but you're not as close to them as you would be at Bay Lake Tower, or even the Grand Floridian, if that matter, because your Grand Floridian would be your next stop. And then you all have probably guessed this, but because I have talked about it so often, my number one resort at Walt Disney World is Animal Kingdom Lodge, Kidani Village. Now, I've never stayed at the Jumbo House because that's more hotel rooms than anything. There's the front of Animal Kingdom Lodge. Here's some of the display gallery that you'll see. There's nothing cooler than looking out of your balcony and seeing animals all over your horizon. So that's my ranking. The other thing I'll say about Kidani is my grandkids, I've got so many cool stories. I've got cool videos of them watching the animals from their balcony when their families went. One of my grandsons he was only 6, got up before the rest of his family, walked out on the balcony by himself one morning, took him some cereal to eat just so he could go out and watch the animals. So that was pretty cool. And my 3-year-olds were just fascinated and would point at them and couldn't believe they were right outside their door. So that's it. If you're still thinking about buying DVC, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the share so I can talk to you directly. If you're considering buying DVC, those are how I'd rank it. Much different than most of the rankings I've seen. You're always going to see. I did see, I like to listen to DVC Fan. They did a ranking not too long ago, and I'm not going to give it away, but a lot of my favorite ones are some of their favorite ones too. And theirs was done from a poll. So that will show you how the other DVC members enjoyed their membership. So there you go, guys. I'll try to do this more frequently. It was been since October since the last episode. I couldn't believe it's been that long. So we're heating back up into vacation season. You saw all the vacations I have listed. We're leaving for one couple of weeks, Grand Californian. I'll probably give a little review of that when we get back, and then we'll talk more DVC adults in the next episode. We'll see you.